The Washington Post broke a story today that just absolutely breaks my heart and makes me sick. It's about a mother who has to use medical marijuana and what's happened to her as a result of that. What's been the societal backlash as a result of that. So here's what they say, quote, "A Kansas mother, Shona Banda, is unable to see her child and faces decades in prison after authorities confiscated marijuana from her home in March. The state of Kansas charged Banda with 5 felony counts of possession of marijuana with the intent to distribute, manufacturing THC oil extracted from marijuana, and 2 counts of possession of drug paraphernalia and 1 count of child endangerment." So she began using medical marijuana about 5 years ago to treat Crohn's disease. Symptoms of the condition include severe diarrhea, weight loss, and malnutrition. Crohn's can be physically debilitating and even life-threatening. And before she began cannabis treatment, she, quote, walked with a cane and often couldn't get off the couch. Now, here's how she got caught. Quote, during the school's drug education programming, Banda's 11-year-old son spoke out in class about the benefits of medical marijuana. The treatment had saved his mother's life, he told teachers and classmates. Teachers relayed the boy's story to school administrators, who then called the police, who in turn brought in Child Protective Services. They confiscated medicine and other property and prohibited her from seeing her son. Yeah. Like I said, this story is beyond heartbreaking. You have a mother who has Crohn's disease, needs medical marijuana in order to function, and because the son makes an offhand comment about how medical marijuana saved his mother's life, he's taken away from her and she's put in jail. What kind of a country do we live in? Is this the kind of country we want to live in? I mean, it's almost comical for us to say to the rest of the world that we believe in freedom and democracy. And it's comical that we try to outsource this stuff, when obviously we got a lot of shit to deal with here. What is freedom? What does the word freedom mean? Does it have a meaning? Or do we just say it when politicians are trying to get elected and then they get in there and they don't give a fuck about it one way or the other? Because if you actually believe in freedom, you believe that people have a right to do whatever they want to do with their own body as long as they're not hurting anybody else. And by the way, this goes above and beyond even that argument, because we're not even talking about somebody who uses it recreationally. Now, in that situation, in my opinion, it would still be fine, but here you have somebody who needs it for medicinal reasons. And because the laws are draconian and archaic and primitive, and they make absolutely no fucking sense, she's being punished. How can we live in a system where we just accept the dumb laws of our fathers and our fathers' fathers and our fathers' fathers' fathers? And you know what? That's not even an accurate statement there, because, well, I mean, what? We got the first drug laws were on the books in the early 1900s. There was a time in America when you can go to the store and get cocaine elixir because you had a toothache or something like that. They used to give little kids spoons of opium for them to be able to go to sleep at night. You know? I mean, there used to, you do know why they banned heroin, for example? Because the white men were afraid that their daughters were going to go into the Chinese opium dens. So the Chinese, when they were working on the railroads, they had opium dens. And they would mind their business, smoke the opium, and, you know, do whatever. White fathers were afraid, we gotta ban the dens because I don't want my white daughter going and fucking Chinese people in the opium dens. If you go back and look at the history of the drug war, it is racist. It's a racist war. You try to criminalize things that minorities do for recreation. This way you criminalize the population, and anytime you feel threatened, you get to lock up significant chunks of the population, and you do that to have social control. It all goes back to Marx's theory of, it's called conflict theory, that the police and law enforcement aren't there to really care about justice and to apply it equally. They're there for the upper classes to control the lower classes, the middle class and the poor. And that's what we're seeing in practice here. How can anybody logically and rationally sit there and explain to you that, no, it's okay that this woman who's using medicine gets her kid taken away from her and she gets fucking locked up as a result of it? How can anybody tell you that? Meanwhile, fucking Percocets and Vicodin and Oxycontin and oxycodone and all these things, that's synthetic heroin and synthetic morphine. It reacts the same way in your body. You're getting a similar high. If you take 3 Percocets, you're getting a similar high to somebody who injects heroin into their arm. The only difference is with the Percocet, they have a little bit of acetaminophen in there, which is like Tylenol, basically. So they say, oh, this is medicine. That's what this is. This is medicine. It's totally fine. Nobody bats an eyelash and says, lock this woman up because, you know, she's taking Percocets. But when it's marijuana, which is not nearly as deadly a drug, take her kid away and lock her up. Understand, the bottom line is, you know who the bad people are in this scenario? The state. The state represents the evildoers here. The people who called from the school to have this woman locked up are the bad people here. What's so ironic is they morally judge the fuck out of her and say, oh, you're doing this substance, the kid is in danger, yada, yada, yada. You don't know dick from dick. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about, okay? You're the bad people. You're the immoral people. Take away this woman's kid and put her in jail because she smoked a little weed. How about you, motherfucker? Did you drink some tequila last night? Did you do that? You had a bad back? You wanted to kick back and relax? You had a scotch, maybe? You had some Budweiser? So how about we come and take away your kids? How about that? How about we lock you in a fucking cage because we don't agree with something you put in your body when you weren't hurting anybody? How about that? By the way, the end of this story here, you know what happened? She stopped smoking marijuana because she wants her kid back. She's right back to walking on a cane and in extreme pain, and she still doesn't have her kid back. If you're not outraged about this, your sense of morality is broken. In the video description, I'm going to put the petition, which demands that justice is done in this scenario. Sign that petition. We must reverse this wrong.